There is a specific kind of pain that tells you your body is breaking, and then there is the kind of pain you simply cannot afford to feel. Eleanor MC Bride was dealing with the second kind. She jammed the knife into the frozen wood of the wagon board, not to defend herself, but to create a handle. She needed leverage. Her shoulder was out of its socket. It hung there, dead weight, a fact rather than a sensation. The wagon was on its side. The horse was gone. And behind her, hidden in the pitch-black curve of the overturned wood, were her children. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the lights, lanterns, bobbing along the ridge above her, cutting through the blizzard, sweeping back and forth. Men calling to each other in the dark. Men who weren't looking for a lost traveller, they were hunting a witness. Eleanor pulled herself upright, gasping against the cold, and turned her body into a shield. She stood between the light and her children, and she waited. This is a story about what happens when you refuse to stay buried. If you love stories about justice, survival, and the kind of grit that freezes bone deep, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You're going to want to see how this ends. Now, let's get into it. Cole Hargrove had a simple rule about the East Ridge Road in December. You don't use it. It was a dead end that ran straight into the Peton mining trails and died there like a sentence nobody knew how to finish. If you were on that road in a blizzard, you were either the owner of the mine or you were running from the people who owned it. Cole wasn't either. He was just a man checking a fence line because his dog, Deputy, wouldn't stop pulling to the left. Deputy was 13 years old. He moved like a man who had been shot twice and remembered the weather on both days. But when Deputy pulled, Cole listened. Cole smelled the wreck before he saw it. Pine sap, wet canvas. The sharp, metallic scent of fresh splintered wood. He stopped his horse, Pepper, and looked down the slope. That's when he saw her. A woman on her knees in the snow. Her arms were locked around two children, her coat spread wide like wings, protecting them from the wind, but her head was up. She wasn't looking at the kids, she was watching the ridge. She was tracking the lanterns. Cole sat there for 3 seconds. He used to be good at this, reading a scene, calculating the threat, finding the exit. 2 years of silence and horses had slowed him down, but the instinct was still there, buried under the rust. 3 lanterns. Sweep pattern. They knew she was close. They were tightening the noose. The woman knew it too. She wasn't screaming for help. She was doing the math, same as him. Stay still, stay low, pray the snow buries you before the men do. Cole could have ridden away. He could have turned Pepper north, checked his fence, and gone home to a warm fire. Nobody had seen him. But then Deputy let out a sound, not a growl, not a whine, just a low vibration in his throat, a judgment. Cole looked down. The little girl in the snow had turned her head. She wasn't crying. She was just looking at him with the terrifying clarity of a child who knows something bad is happening and has decided to watch it happen. Cole dismounted. "Mom," he said, keeping his voice under the wind. "Don't move. Don't call out." She turned. Her face was pale, sharp, cut above the eye. Her shoulder was hanging wrong, but her eyes, they were clear, brown, assessing him. "How many?" she asked. "Not help me. Just how many?" 3 on the ridge, Cole said. 2 more south. They're cutting off the creek road. She nodded, wincing. I counted 4 lanterns. They're flanking. Shed mapped their tactical movement in a blizzard, with a dislocated shoulder, while protecting 2 kids. Cole filed that away. This wasn't a helpless victim. "My ranch is a mile west," Cole said. "There's a draw the ridgemen can't see. We have 4 minutes before they clear the switchback. After that, we lose the angle." She looked at him, really looked at him. "You live here alone?" "Yes, Mom." "Why are you stopping?" It was the right question. The only question that mattered. Because Cole said, "If I don't, and I find out tomorrow what happened to you, I won't sleep right for the rest of my life. And I don't sleep well enough as it is." She held his gaze for a second longer, then looked at the boy beside her. "James, take your sister's hand." They moved through the drawer in silence. The woman, Eleanor McBride, did not ask for help. She stumbled once, her boot breaking through the ice crust, and she grabbed Cole's arm just long enough to stabilize, then let go immediately. Like she had practiced not holding on to things. The little girl, Clara, looked up at Cole's horse. "What's her name?" "Pepper." "That's a good name," she said, serious as a judge. Then she pointed at the limping hound. "That's Deputy." Cole blinked. "How did you know his name?" "He looks like a deputy," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Cole's cabin was cold, but the walls were thick. He got the fire going, pulled blankets from a cedar chest he hadn't opened in 2 years, and put water on the stove. The boy, James, sat with his back straight, watching Cole. Not hostile, just watchful. The look of a kid who had been the man of the house for way too long. Eleanor sat at the table, clutching a leather bag she hadn't put down once. "Your shoulder," Cole said. It needs to go back in. I know. You want me to count to 3? Just do it. He reset the joint. She made one sound sharp, bitten off, swallowed instantly. Then she was silent. James didn't look away from his sister, which told Cole exactly how many times that boy had learned to ignore pain to keep things calm. I am Eleanor M.C. Bride, she said, flexing her hand. My husband was Thomas M.C. Bride. He was an accountant for Peton Mining. The name hit the room like a physical weight. Asterisk Peton. Asterisk he's dead, she continued, 8 months ago. Number 3 shaft. They called it an accident. They're very good at filing accidents. And you? Cole asked. I have his notebook. She tapped the leather bag. Names, dates, payoffs. Everything Peton has done for 4 years, including the Colville collapse. Cole went still. It was like a door opening in a room he had walled off years ago. What do you know about Colville? He asked, his voice low. I know 7 men died, she said. I know the investigation found no negligence. And I know a Pinkerton detective named Cole Hargrove wrote an original report that blamed Peton directly. A report that got buried. She pulled a folded frozen newspaper clipping from her bag and slid it across the table. My husband believed your report was the truth, she said. He kept your name. He made me memorize it. Cole stared at the clipping. He didn't touch it. How long have you known who I was? Since you said your name on the ridge, she said. Men like Peton don't leave loose threads, Mr. Hargrove. They left Thomas in a shaft. They've been hunting me for 4 days because I wouldn't grieve quietly. Cole stood up and walked to the window. The blizzard was hammering the glass. Your husband kept 7 names in his notebook, Cole said, his back to her. The men from Colville. I wrote those names down. My supervisor erased them. He handed me a clean report and told me to sign it or lose my badge. And you walked out, Eleanor said. I walked out, Cole turned. I came here. I raised horses. I told myself that not signing the lie was enough. It wasn't. The silence in the room was heavy. Where are the files? Eleanor asked. What? Your original files, the photos, the testimony. You didn't destroy them. Cole looked at her. They're in the cedar chest, under the blankets. Eleanor didn't smile. She just nodded. Your files and Thomas' notebook. Together, that's a hangman's noose. If we can get them to someone who isn't bought, Cole said. There's a federal marshal named Garrett. He's stubborn, mean, and honest. But he's 3 days east. The pass is closed, she said. Then we wait, Cole said. And while we wait, you sleep. I take the first watch. James spoke up from the corner. I can watch. Cole looked at the 8-year-old boy. You've been watching for a long time, haven't you, son? My father said to watch the things that matter, James said. You sleep, Cole said gently. Tonight, the door is bolted. Nobody comes in unless I let them. The next morning, the snow had stopped, but the world was buried. Cole rode to town at first light to send a wire to Marshal Garrett. He left Eleanor with a rifle and a simple instruction. Asterisk, do not open the door. Asterisk, when he came back, the tension in the cabin was vibrating. Sheriff Driscoll was here, Eleanor said. She was standing by the window, rifle in hand. Cole froze. Driscoll was the local law, and Driscoll's name was in the notebook paid off by Peton to look the other way. He knocked, she said. He had a warrant. And? I didn't open it. I told him through the door that if he wanted to come in, he'd have to come through the wood, and I had a clearer shot than he did. Cole almost smiled. What did he do? He left, but he'll be back, and he won't be alone. They had hours, maybe less. Marshal Garrett was coming, but the weather was slowing him down. Peton's Mendy ones from the ridge were regrouping. Cole started fortifying. He moved the heavy table against the door. He checked the sight lines. Eleanor, he said, if this goes south... It won't, she said. She was copying pages from the notebook by hand, duplicates, in case the originals were destroyed. Her knuckles were stained with ink, her hand cramping, but she didn't stop. You're copying evidence, Cole said. While men are coming to kill you, Thomas used to say the most dangerous document is the only document, she said without looking up. I'm making sure there's more than one. And then they waited. It wasn't a gunfight that started it. It was a knock. Sheriff Driscoll stood on the porch. He looked tired. He looked like a man who had sold his soul on an installment plan and was suddenly realizing the final payment was due. Cole opened the door. Just a crack, rifle in hand. Morning, Cole, Driscoll said. I have a warrant for a fugitive, Eleanor M.C. Bride. Roads are closed, Harlan. Cole lied smoothly. Haven't seen a soul. Don't do this, Driscoll said, his voice dropping. Peton knows she's here. He knows about the notebook. If I don't go in there and get it, men who aren't wearing badges are going to come burn this place down. Cole looked at the sheriff. Harlan, I have federal files in this house that prove you took $400 to ignore a structural defect. Marshal Garrett is on his way. When he gets here, you can be the man who helped protect the witness, or you can be the man listed as a co-conspirator. Driscoll paled. Garrett is coming? He's 2 hours out. Driscoll looked at the horizon. He looked at his deputies. He looked back at Cole. 2 hours, Driscoll whispered. I can stall Peton's men for 2 hours. After that, you're on your own. He turned and walked away. When Marshal Garrett arrived, he looked like he had ridden through hell. He didn't say hello. He walked in, saw the stack of files, Cole's photos, Thomas' notebook, Eleanor's handwritten copies, and he sat down and read for 40 minutes in silence. When he looked up, his eyes were hard. This ends it, Garrett said. All of it. The trial took place in Billings 3 weeks later. They tried to break Eleanor. The company lawyers called her hysterical. They called her a thief. They tried to say she forged the notebook. But Eleanor McBride sat in the witness chair, 8 months pregnant, hands folded over her stomach, and she recited the ledger entries from memory, page by page, dollar by dollar. She didn't stumble. She didn't cry. She just spoke the truth until the air left the room. Then Cole took the stand. He admitted to walking away years ago. He admitted to his shame. And then he laid out the architecture of the Colville collapse. When the verdict came down, it wasn't a cheer. It was a silence. The kind of silence that happens when a heavy weight is finally put down. Peton was arrested. The mine was seized. Months later, the snow was gone. The valley was green. Eleanor stayed. She reopened the old schoolhouse in Copper Falls. She stood at the front of the room and taught children that if they could read a contract, nobody could own them. One evening, Cole sat on her porch. The baby, a girl named Verity, was asleep in a basket. Thomas wrote me a letter, Eleanor said, looking out at the sunset. He said if the worst happened, I should find Cole Hargrove. He said you were the only man who knew the story and hadn't signed the lie. Cole looked at his hands. He gave me a second chance, Eleanor. I didn't earn it, but he gave it to me. He knew you would show up, she said. That's all that matters. You showed up. The East Ridge Road is still there. It's still a dead end. But now, it's not just a place where things stop. It's the place where a woman drove a knife into the wood, stood up, and decided that the truth was worth surviving for. If this story moved you, leave a comment with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.